made this YouTube themed cake and pricing it was particularly tricky. I learned a lot along the way, so I thought perhaps I'll come and share some of the lessons with you, especially if you're having difficulty pricing your cakes. Bear in mind, I'm 8 years in, and try as I may, occasionally I do have problems pricing my cakes, especially the ones that do fall outside the boundaries of my regular cake orders. A little bit of information to give you context about the premise of this video. I was in a caking group where a cake maker posted a question about a pricing they had given for a particular cake similar to the one on screen. A customer had presented this photo for this cake to be replicated for them in a 4-layered 6-inch cake. The cake maker quoted £70. Surprisingly, the customer thought £70 was rather too expensive, so pulled out of taking the order altogether. Perhaps disheartened, the cake maker decided to come to the group chat to ask a simple question. Their simple question was their cake, quote, too expensive? When I saw the post, I dropped in the comment section to see for myself what my other cake makers had to say. There were different prices ranging from £115 to £340. Reassuringly, everyone agreed the £70 price was rather too cheap. With that observation and with the thought of cake pricing subjects being so contentious in caking groups, I was reluctant to pass an opinion on the subject or perhaps express a suggestion for a price that I thought I would give to that cake. But it got me thinking, if I had nothing to do in a day but was asked to make a cake, how much would it cost me from start to finish? So the formula for working this cake price will be as simple as adding the cost of all ingredients, sundries and utilities, plus the production time. As a business, I'd apply a percentage of that cost to add to the cost of all the utilities, ingredients, sundries and production costs, from which I will derive my final price. A very big thank you to Tracy Soul from the Fondant Bakehouse, who presented her own business pricing formula, which serves as a guide for this video. I'll be paying myself £10.42, the national minimum wage assigned to any working adult in the UK, for every hour that I work on this cake. And at the end of this video, I'll be giving you the final price of this cake and you will be very surprised. Let's get to making this cake. For this cake, I'll be breaking my task into 4 stages: the pre-baking and planning stages, the baking phase, decorating and adding additional elements, after which our cake will be done and boxed up. Please be advised the stages are derived for convenience and may be variable. For this cake dough, I assigned an assumed 1 hour to my pre-baking and planning phases, which will be the standard time I assign to any custom order. Mind you, depending on what your pricing structure is, this may not apply. The shopping for ingredients took me through my local TESCO, Lidl, Hobbycraft for specific items that I really needed. There was an hour and 34 minutes between TESCO and Lidl and an extra 32 minutes at Hobbycraft, bringing my shopping time, including drive time, item selection and queuing, to 2 hours 6 minutes. Adding in the assumed initial 1 hour phase, and that's 3 hours gone already. Shopping done and it's time for baking. We'll be looking at pricing ingredients shortly. In the meantime, there's getting the ingredients measured and prepping ready for the batter and bake time. For me, it's rather useful to make the buttercream whilst the cake was in the oven. Bake time was an hour 5 minutes, within which I made French buttercream, a portion of which was made into chocolate French buttercream for this cake. I also made some ganache, included all related tasks, and the time spent on this entire process came to 2 hours 7 minutes. A total breakdown of the task, including task time, is noted in the description box for you. The cake after baking was left to cool and leveled, after which it was wrapped warm and left on a countertop for filling and stacking later. With our cakes on the countertop and 5 hours 13 minutes already gone, that is day 1 of our YouTube cake journey already done. But I wanted to stop by and pass a quick disclaimer just to say this video was made with a complete beginner business in mind, as in the business that had started hobby baking and had now set up properly, looking to function as a full-time or part-time basis, but is still unsure about pricing. The person I had in mind has affected some of of the decisions I have made along the way, as in the time I spent going from one shop to the other, wasting time when I could have been a little more efficient. I'll be making adjustment for this along the way when we derive the pricing for this cake, so we have an alternative to compare to the original pricing that will be derived from adding all the costs, including production time. As a fully functional business, I have systems and equipment that help me to be a lot more efficient with my time, sometimes batch baking, bulk buying ingredients, and staying organized. In this way, these opportunities help me to be a little more efficient, thereby my pricing may be different significantly compared to a beginner baker that works with just one mixer in the kitchen and a home oven. It goes to show pricing is neither linear nor is it a one size fits all. Remember, 5 hours and 30 minutes in multiplied by £10.42 will derive as the cost of time so far, and that figure does not include ingredients or sundries or any additional cost at all. The price of ingredients are highlighted on screen for you to see, and I will be elaborating on the details of that as the video develops. In the meantime, let's go back and make some cake, and I'll be back talking pricing a little bit later. Starting with a dollop of ganache spread over a cake board over which a 7-inch cake circle is placed. The cake layers are filled and stacked and left to chill. The cake is returned to be trimmed first before crumb coating to seal in all the crumbs. The cake is left to chill again before it's trimmed on top. Another layer of ganache is applied, aiming for a polished surface over which the fondant will be laid. Whilst this phase may appear seamless and rather straightforward, the time spent here is exactly 1 hour 58 minutes with some noticeable imperfection in the form of this crack on the cake. Important to note, the cake stands at 7 inches in diameter and 7 inches tall. With our cake done, it's time to cover the cake in fondant. I'm using massaticino, which rolls out easily and stretches thin without elephant skin. The cake is covered and polished off before being set on a cake board ready for display. This part adds another 1 hour and 8 minutes. Hence, from planning to this plainly covered cake presented on a fondant covered board, that's exactly 8 hours and 19 minutes. I made a deliberate decision to have a 10-minute break on day 1 and 30 minutes on day 2, adding up to 40 minutes total. This was added up to our already 8 hours 19 minutes, bringing our total time so far to 8 hours 59 minutes. For a minute less, I'll be charging the 9-hour fixed price, and that will bring the cost of our cake in time only to £93.78. Worth noting, ingredients including materials, chocolate pieces and extra decorations added up to £31.90, and an estimated fixed value for utilities and sundries added up to £9 extra. Our total cost so far with time, ingredients, sundries and utility stands at £134.68. 9 hours flew by quickly, and I wonder where the time has gone. However, I must admit, whilst this pricing formula may not work for all, I hope this pricing structure will help you determine a personalized structure through which you can price your cakes adequately. With pricing also comes working out the cost of utilities, which is rather tricky to work out. This can be very difficult to price and requires observing your use and noting the numbers over time, deriving an estimate and adding that to cost. For this particular cake, this would have been extremely difficult to apply, so I have worked up my average use for utilities, which I would normally apply at £12.50 for a single tier cake, which may rise to £15 depending on the size. Obviously, this amount increases depending on the number of tiers that I am making for the cake. So for this cake, I applied a £9 standard rate because I have already priced for some of the elements in the costings. With that in mind, custom cakes are a luxury, and so the skill and expertise should be reflected in the prices that are charged for the cakes. Making a custom cake business affordable is not to be confused with making a custom cake cheap. Custom cakes are a luxury and are not supposed to be priced on the cheap, because if a cake is supposed to be made tailored to a client's preferences, then there is a price to pay for that. We're nearly done with our cake and closer to determining a price, so perhaps let's go and sort out my unpolished YouTube cake logo and get this cake decorated, and we'll know what this cake really truly costs. Before decorating our YouTube cake, my unpolished YouTube logo was cut from fondant, and the cake pops with the ganache for drip was all completed. Our cake is back for the YouTube logo to be attached before the drip is applied, using a spoon to guide the flow. After chilling the cake to set the drip, the play button is placed, the chocolate element added together with my cake pops that fell over that I was too exhausted to get redone. Our cake is boxed up and set ready, bringing a total time to 11 hours and 2 minutes of work time from planning to finished cake. Now for the price of this cake by the hour, including all costs plus a 10% profit as initially thought, the price will be exactly £171.04. If I adjusted to save myself some time by cutting short my shopping time through bulk shopping, replacing logo with edible paper, or perhaps replacing the cake pops with polystyrene, I could have saved about 3 hours in time and about £7 in cost of ingredient, bringing my cost down to £132.78. A speculative price for this fondant drip cake may lie somewhere between £120 to £170, depending on where you are on the pricing spectrum. This goes without saying, the £70 price quoted by the cake maker for this cake was rather too cheap. I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.